In the last few episodes, I keep talking about wanting to plant in that area, which is to be my Agavoides area, and unfortunately, the weather hasn't been cooperating. It might appear clear and sunny right now. It's actually quite warm, quite comfortable outside, and we're actually at the end of winter, which is nice. But there's a forecast of rains coming up for the next few days again, so unfortunately, I still can't plant in the ground. But still, having weeks not being able to play with my plants, I think I would still like to do a bit of planting, and in this case, I'll be planting in pots. So in this episode, I'm going to show you through my process of planting in pots, and in order to do that, I think I need to prepare my plants. So let's get started. There's a few reasons why I would like to do some repotting today. The first of which is I don't want to waste this weather. It's so clear, so blue. The skies, I haven't seen it this clear for the past few months now. So it's quite rare. And of course, the second reason is that spring is coming up. Today is the last day of winter in Australia since we're using the meteorological system, which means that our spring starts at the 1st of September. Winter ends today, the 31st of August. And to be honest, it's not hard to notice that the days are getting much longer now. In the past few months, we used to have sunset right at 5 p.m. or even before 5 p.m. But now I can see that it gets dark at around 6 p.m. So it's starting to shift forward. So what that means for me is my plants, the Echeverias, mostly Echeveria, they are winter dormant and they grow during the warmer months. And now that we're exiting winter, it means that they would be starting to grow faster in the upcoming weeks. I want to be ahead of that and prepare them for their eventual growth season. And to do that, I need to move them away from their tiny pots, in the case of these plants here. And there's many others in the ground which I want to move into pots, mainly because I will be taking them with me into the succulent show coming October. And finally, there's a few plants here that I have to rehabilitate because they have been damaged during winter. Mostly fungus related, but I need to isolate them. So moving them into pots would make it a lot easier for me to separate them from the rest of the healthier plants. So I think that's what I'm going to do today. If you've been following my socials, then you would know that for the past few weeks I've been trying to accumulate gear that would help me live stream, and I plan to have a live stream this weekend. And by the time you're watching this, that live stream may have already happened because it takes a bit of time for me to edit this video and publish it. So yeah, it might appear out of order, but if you wanted to view the live stream, you could just click on this link, this pop-up right here or in the description. So the first thing on my agenda for today is to prepare for the live stream. And if you haven't seen it yet, the live stream is supposed to be about, just me chilling around, just doing some repotting. Because as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of plants that I would like to move into pots. And when it comes to chilling in the garden, I think one of the best things is just to sit around and do some repotting. And in this case, having it on live stream might be fun. So yeah.
It's time once again for another time-lapse chat. In this time-lapse chat, I'd like to explain why I had the sudden urge to do a live stream. As I mentioned in the previous episode, I was invited to speak to the San Antonio Cactus and Xerophyte Society. We did it over the internet and we had an online conference. I was sharing my laptop screen for my presentation and I was also using my phone as essentially my webcam. We did a rehearsal before the day of the presentation and things seemed to work well. During the test, we just had a simple video call. We didn't do any content switching from video to presentation or something like that. So on the day of presentation, all the things that could go wrong went wrong. We had some connection issues. We also had a bit of audio issues, but we figured things out and got everything working again. After the bit of difficulty, things were smooth sailing and everyone had a great time. Because of that experience, we were thinking of doing another talk in the future, and I decided that I would have a proper streaming setup. So I went around researching on the things I would need to live stream with my camera. If you've been following my little updates in the Seriscapades discussion group, the various bits of equipment were slowly arriving. I bought an Elgato capture card which connects to my camera over HDMI. This essentially makes my camera work as a webcam. I also got a few bits and bobs which are not essential to the live stream but useful upgrades for my camera. The only thing missing is the DC adapter for my camera, which allows me to plug to the mains outlet and provide continuous power. So I have to be mindful about not making the stream go on for too long because my camera will only be running on battery power and they last for about an hour when continuously recording. Now that I'm ready on the hardware side of things, I just needed to prepare my stage. As you can see in the time lapse, I'm creating a little makeshift repotting station in the middle of the garden.
And now that we've got this out of the way, it's time to start gathering the plants. Some of the plants that I want to take with me are currently in the ground. This is one of them. This is the Echeveria bluebird. I'm just making some space around it so it to be easier to get to it. But anyway, it is this blue one right here. And what I want to do is I want to put it into a pot. So of course, the first step is to remove it from the ground. Now I have to be careful with this because this is going to be one of my show specimens and I do not want to destroy it unnecessarily. So I'll be sure to dig a huge space around it. I need the leverage. So I'm trying to keep the root ball intact because I want it to continue growing throughout spring and I do not want to stunt its growth even more because it's going to into a pot as opposed to just being in the ground. Right now it's enjoying the advantages of being in the ground, which is it is not constrained. It has access to a lot of water and nutrients. So the fact of the matter is that moving it into a pot will make it grow a bit slower. So I'm hoping to offset that by giving it a bit of fertilizer at the start of spring, but not too much because I do not want it to turn green. Because as you know, giving it a bit of fertilizer will stimulate growth even more. And when it's growing, it loses some of its stress colors. So I do not want to completely lose any of those colors, especially if I'm taking it to the show. So yeah, just a tiny bit will do. Okay, we're done with the first plant. And wow, look at those roots. Another plant in my sights is this Colorata Brantii. And like the previous one, I'm going to make some space around it to give me better access. So I'm just going to move this to the sides. I think that's enough space, but just move more just to be sure. So like before, I'm going to dig well away from it just to give it a bit of space and just so I do not destroy its root ball so much. Yeah, like the previous one, there's a very well established root system, so I have to be careful with this. The next couple plants are not going to the show, but I would like to think of them more of being rescued. I'm just going to remove them from this tiny spot that they are in and place them in a pot where they would be able to grow in more favorable conditions. So there's a couple of plants here. I'm not sure if you can see it, but this is an Echeveria bittersweet and Pearl von Nunberg. I'm going to move them into pots. I think I can just pull it out. Yeah. So the root systems are not as well established as the previous ones. It's mainly because they have been planted in a tight clump. And this is expected. So by removing them from the clump, they are going to grow much faster and bigger compared to how they look like right now. So yeah, that's what I mean by rescue. I think I would also consider the next couple of ones as rescue. I've got an Echeveria cloudburst right here and another cloudburst there. So we're going to do the same. There's also an Orion at the back, which I would like to move to a better spot, but it's not getting enough sunlight here. So yeah, another rescue. The next few ones are those that I'll be taking to the show, and these are some of my mature carunculated plants. This is the Mauna Loa, there's the Verrugas, and the Barbellion. So I'm going to pull them out and move them into a pot. apart from those that I've shown you just now, I've also gathered several more of the smaller plants. These ones in the trays mainly need to be transferred into a larger pot, including this one. While that one over there, as you can see, that is a stump which has pops growing all around it. But I need to remove some of them, mainly because the stump is already starting to dry out and rot. And the rotten part would not be able to provide nutrients to the pops. So I'll be removing the pops that are close to the dry part or attached to it. That way they could start growing their own roots and gathering their own water and nutrients. Time check, it's 1 o'clock. I've got 1 hour left before the live stream. I think I'll go have a quick snack and I'll better start preparing for the stream. Yeah. Intro for the third time. It's a clear and sunny day, last day of winter here in Australia since we're following the meteorological season. Tomorrow is the start of spring, and I wanted to do some repotting because I mostly have echeverias and they start growing during the warmer months. Terracotta pots, clay pots, and anything that's porous, anything that's unsealed. I usually just go with 1:1, soil and scoria. But with plastic pots or sealed pots, glazed pots, I would go with more scoria just to make it drain a lot more. It's quite a huge plant. This is the biggest Mauna Loa in my collection, but it is not the biggest plant. The Zorro is just bigger than this one. I think this should be easy. Let's see who guesses it first. Yes, it's a Black Prince. That's right. I'm going to continue where I left off from the live stream. Yes, I was going to plant this one. This is an Echeveria verrugas. And I'm going to use this large pot here. Now, to be more efficient about this, I am going to use a bigger trowel. Because the smaller one would take me a lot of time to do, you know. Let me just pick it up. Yes. Now I need a bit more precision, so I'm going to use the smaller one. Okay, we're good with this one. I've got one more that I really need to repot, and it is this Echeveria Barbellion. I think I'd like to move this bluebird into this bowl. You know what? I really like how this one turned out. This combination of bowl and this type of cup or bowl-shaped plant. They really complement each other well. And I guess it's just a matter of choosing the right top dressing to go with this. And I'm really a fan. So I might be getting a lot more of these pots because I still have a few here which I would like to, you know, have the same aesthetic. Based on this ones alone, I would need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more of the bowls, and these are not exactly cheap. They are about $14.40 each, $14.40. So that means I have to fork out another $72. Yeah, it's quite an investment, but I really like how they look. So I think it's worth it. Yeah. One more thing I would like to repot would be one of these Aeonium short blacks. I haven't completely decided which one to pick, which one to use, but I'm leaning more towards this one because it is fuller. But I'm having second thoughts because this one seems to be more regular. The growth are more or less the same. But I guess in the end, I'm going to pick the one which looks bigger because size is another determining factor, one of the criteria for judging in the show. So maybe this one has to be picked. Now, let me just go find the pot. I was thinking of going with this one. It is quite tall, a bit taller than the one that's currently being used. And I'm wondering if the color combination looks fine. I really have no objections to this, but I'm not 100% convinced either. So tell me what you think. Does this combination work? It kinda does, but at the same time kinda doesn't, because this one looks bright. No, I mean this one looks dark and this one is quite neutral, because the plant itself is dark while the base, the pot, is light, which kind of makes it top heavy. But then again, it makes sense, because you know what I mean, because this plant is quite tall, it's expected to be quite big, and if the pot is going to be dark to contrast against the top, in this case they're going to be the same color, then there wouldn't be much, I don't know, it would just feel like one whole thing and feels awkward. I don't really know how to explain what I'm thinking. But I guess what I could do, yeah, I could just plant this in here. No, I can't really make up my mind. So let me know down in the comments whether I should pick this pot for the Aeonium or should I go with something else. Yeah. So in order to combat the bad weather that we've been having, despite today being a clear sunny day, we're still going to have some cloudy days over the next few days, which means that, you know, I still can't do any gardening outdoors. So I think I'll be devoting the next couple weeks just looking around in various garden centers, in various landscaping centers, and see what sort of pots I could get. But I think for these types of plants, this little bowl, this little Grange bowl here is definitely a winner. So I'm going with this. I still have to think about the bowl or the pot that will be paired with some of my larger plants. I temporarily place them in large pots, but I'm not quite happy with them. So yeah, we'll see what happens, and do let me know in the comments about my questions earlier about the combinations, especially with the Aeonium. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye. Ceriscapades is made possible with the support of my Patreon sponsors. Patreon allows you to support content creators like me with a small monthly donation. You can pledge your support by heading over to patreon.com/ceriscapades. If you're in Australia, I've got some of my plants for sale. Check out my plant shop at ceriscapades.com/theplant shop with dashes.